Low on gas and water, tore up my hands, bruised and burned myself, achy, tired, and peed all over myself. Twice. Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Wandering Ananda, and this is the story of my journey car camping with my cat in one of the smallest SUVs ever made, a 2000 Toyota RAV4, which is smaller than the newer model. On my maiden voyage, I failed to stop at the last stop in the desert before Joshua Tree. Once I was done kicking myself, I decided to drive on to Chirico Summit to fill up on gas before heading to BLM land. But I learned the hard way that water vending machines are not always available, so I couldn't leave my car unattended to go into the small and very busy store because of the soft rooftop carrier, and I especially couldn't leave my cat on a hot sunny day with no available shade. It was a long day of moving out of the Airbnb after a few restless nights of sleep and a longest drive from LA, so I made do with the 3 gallons of water that I had, and it turned out to be plenty for a few days. The spot I chose for the night was on the eastern side of Joshua Tree South, past everyone else except for one neighbor. Setting up a tent in the wind is challenging, but a pop-up tent requires a certain kind of patience because it threatens to blow away immediately after deployment. So as soon as I set it down on the tarp, I placed some heavy items to weigh it down. And I didn't bother to try to stake it to the hard, rocky desert ground. With my camping gear out of the car, I had room to sleep, and due to the high wind, I spent most of my time in the car, and it became a comfy cocoon for me and my cat. Because of the dry climate, which makes every plastic edge sharp, I tore up my hands and broke almost every nail to the skin. My fingertips became super sensitive. What nails that were left became embedded with dirt, and there were bruises all over my legs. I was a mess. Having one neighbor was simultaneously creepy and reassuring. And not knowing who they were, I didn't know which because they were within walking distance. That I didn't mess with solar panels for the first couple of days. But I'll talk about that and my other gear in another episode. In Joshua Tree, I had really good Verizon cell service, so it felt like just another night, except with a view and finally peace and quiet. Since I have a decent cocktail of things like melatonin that I use to aid my sleep, I slept okay, but I still didn't feel rested because of my neck and because of some medical conditions, which my neck was tweaked from the wind, and when it's tweaked, I don't get much sleep because it's like arthritis and nerve-related. The first morning, I burned myself making coffee, banged my head for the first of many times to follow, and was cramped from sleeping sideways in my car because I didn't stretch out. I also peed all over myself for the second time. The first time this happened was actually last night when I knelt in my tent, and let's just say that it's easier to use a pee funnel while standing or sitting, but the design of mine doesn't offer much room while sitting, so I knelt and the angle in my low tent was too awkward, but I think with strong back and core muscles, it would have been easier. The second time I peed all over myself was in my car all over a pillow. It was extremely diluted, so thankfully it didn't smell unless I just can't smell my own urine. I've been since using the bucket method with my portable loo setup, which requires a lot of cat litter, especially in the desert when I was trying to keep hydrated. At least the pine pellets, which are lighter, controls the smell better. But it caused a lot of waste that I needed to haul, like a lot, especially because I was out there for several days. And I heeded the call to the desert for the first part of my journey because it's so less crowded during the week and most people keep their distance and things go dark after sunset. And people are really good about being quiet at 10 o'clock. I was able to use my time there, which was a few weeks, to get comfortable with the setup of my space, which I reorganized several times in the blazing heat, and get comfortable with my gear in relative privacy that most campgrounds lack. The BLM land in Joshua Tree is expansive, and while there's room for everyone, try not to park too close to anyone. I'll talk about my experience with that next time. So join me in the next episode as I check in, discuss my gear, including solar power and an electric fridge, and in later episodes when I drive through Joshua Tree National Park, resupply, and camp in the north side of the BLM land in Joshua Tree. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to follow me on this journey into the desert and beyond as I drive up the coast of California in my tiny SUV.